WeRiseNation.com.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear. If you seek it, you will find what you looking for. And once you hear us, it'll leave you looking for some more. Open the door, let us in, we got a special vibe. Now close the door, lock us in, and enjoy the ride. We about to talk about some things that make a lot of sense. And what we talking about, here sometimes we'll get intense. That's what we looking for, trying to spark a conversation. Join us live or you can listen on the We Rise Nation. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming. Welcome back to another edition of the Grown Men Podcast. I am your host, BAN, and welcome back to the show. Well, as always, we have a lot of interesting things and topics that come over to WeRiseNation.com, and people want to get our opinion here at the Grown Men Podcast on how we feel about certain topics, and we're going to always deliver to you the best that we can. And joining me this week, of course, my brother, Mark, remotely. Mark, it's great to have you back on the Grown Men Podcast. Good to see you in.
Good to be back on the Grown Man Podcast as always. Thank you for having me.
Well, Mark, of course, a lot of different things been coming up, but the first thing that I want to talk about, and I know it's something that you've had your eyes and ears on, and that is the Target boycott that's going on. And a lot of people say that it's ending. Some people say that it's not. You got a pulse on what's going on in this situation. Tell me a little bit and tell the people what's going on with that.
Well, I mean, I've been looking into it, and of course, I think a lot of people have on different platforms and podcasts and talking heads has been out there. We understand that this Target boycott started about a little bit more than over a year ago. Mm-hmm. But let's just keep in mind, because there was actually two kind of boycotts going on. There was a Target fasting and there was a Target boycott. Let me talk about the Target fasting. The Target fasting was created by former state Senator Nina Turner of the state of Ohio.
Yes.
Civil rights activist Tamika Mallory, part of the group Until Freedom, and the very outspoken pastor Jamal Bryant.
Right.
They was doing what they was called Target fasting. They kind of started that during the week that we have Lent. That's pretty much for like religious folks, Catholic folks, if you will, that go without eating meat and things like that.
Right.
For a week, or like eating any kind of food at all, just drinking water. So it was pretty much to protest Target, because Target has been very accommodating to the incoming administration at the time. That's of course led by Felon 47, which was very strongly opposing things of diversity, equity, and inclusion, aka DEI,
right,
aka black stuff.
Right.
Some of them people that look at it. I mean, basically, it's what it is.
Right.
I mean, DEI is pretty much programs that was created to make sure that everybody, every single person, and handicapped folks. I mean, no matter what's your skin color, your race, your sex, all that kind of stuff, be able to get opportunity in workforces and spaces of that, and all of that type of stuff, right? So Target was one of the first ones to come out and basically co-sign for the incoming Felon 47 administration, and they also donated $1 million to his inauguration, and basically was one of the major department store companies that was going to be very, very accommodating to the incoming administration. So, with all that said, the fasting was announced a couple days ago by Pastor Jamal Bryan that they had ended fasting Target. Like they was no longer going to be doing that. They're going to move on to other business. What they feel was what they accomplished was they got billions of dollars going towards Black communities in forms of college grants to HBCUs. I know Howard University was one of the ones of many yet to be named. Also, like the George Floyd donation for the community in Minnesota. And also, Target is going to continue on with their DEI program. They're going to reinstate that. They're just going to use a different name for the DEI program. But and the fourth thing that they wanted, those are three things that, my bad, I didn't bullet point them enough. But the fourth thing that they also wanted Target to do was invest into Black banks. Yeah. Because by having Black banks investments, that's good to help increase Black home ownership and things of that nature and all that kind of stuff. They didn't quite get that, but they did get Target to agree that they're going to look into that. Whatever that means, you can take it for what it's worth. So that's the Target fasting. Now, the Target boycott itself, that was like announced before the fasting part was announced by Nakima Levy Armstrong. Right. She's part of the Radical Justice Network. Right. Along with Jelani Hassan. Mm-hmm. She's part of CAIR with an I, CAIR in Minnesota. That's also a advocate group. Yeah. And there's countless of other like unnamed faith leaders and people like that was like just flat out, we're gonna boycott Target because they went against what they said that they was gonna do. Now, the things I mentioned earlier that Pastor Jamal Bryan felt that he got was the George Floyd commitment and the college monies and all that kind of stuff. That was already been. Target already said that they was going to do that because that was all part of their whole thing after Big George Floyd was murdered. Mm-hmm. And they felt, obligated, as like a lot of the country, a lot of the world did when they had that big spotlight shine on Black suffrage. Like, I mean, when we hear about the stories about how Black folks mistreatment and police violence and all that kind of stuff. Like a lot of people think, well, it's probably not as bad as they say it is or this, that, and the other. But to see that video of a man being choked out for nearly 10 minutes, on the streets of Minneapolis, I mean, that was very eye-opening. Well, a lot of people, Mark, I didn't mean to cut you off, but a lot of people saw that this was the least that they can do, considering the fact that they're headquartered in Minneapolis. This is where they're headquartered. Target Field is where they play baseball. They have the Mall of America, which is sponsored by Target. They have the Target Center where the Timberwolves play. So, I mean, all of these things that played into that, it was all about policy changes, which they still have not enforced. So that's why the protest lives on. So that's the key part right there. So, with all of that said, let me just go back real quickly to the Target boycott, which Nakima Levy Armstrong and Jelani Hassan and those people I just mentioned, like what they was asking for and still demanding, which I believe still hasn't been met yet, was they looking for like a formal public apology. So I don't believe that the new CEO of Target, because that's another thing too. Let's talk about the damage real quick, because Target they stock had dropped significantly. I'm talking about in the billions of dollars, billion with a B. So they lost a lot of money because of this boycott, because of the fasting, everything else that was involved in it. Like, they Target has been looking bad nationwide. So they're looking for an apology. They still haven't got that. They want to have a reversal on like their policies as far as like employment for like people of color and all that, to get promotions and things like that, to be able to sit on the board and be in key positions to make decision making, and also getting more black owned businesses products in the stores.
Yeah, well, no, what I was going to say is that, yeah, you absolutely right in that, because I haven't been shopping at Target. I never really shopped at Target anyway. Every now and then I would buy some, but for the most part, we don't shop there anyway. But I have been on that because I did it with a lot of different stores. I did it with Walmart for a while. Any company that I saw, Home Depot, any company that I saw that gave money to Felon 47, I had cut ties with them. Amazon, I wasn't ordering things from them for a long time, and I still don't order like I used to. So I have principles, and as I've said previously on the Grown Man Podcast, I don't care if it affects their bottom line or not. I'm going to let them know that I don't shop with them and I don't do business with them. And now they got the next thing that they're talking about, which is with RFK being the head of the health department, their whole deal, they're going to take the cereal out of the stores in Target. So Target has made a commitment to pull Fruit Loops and all these other ones that have supposedly artificial flavor. I mean, some of this stuff is getting really cut rate, right? So I don't know. But what do you say?
It gets messy. It gets messy because when you start doing things like that, you want to talk about the cereal, then okay, like people can point out at a whole lot of products that's like, not good for health. I mean, if it's just all about want everybody to have clean health, then you pretty much want to get rid of everything. Then nothing should be in the stores other than like produce.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just like your fruits and vegetables.
Exactly.
Because like meat is not necessarily good for you.
Exactly.
A lot of things that's not necessarily good for you.
Exactly.
So that's a little bit much. I mean, it's like, because I get some of the like heat that like Nina Turner and Tamika and them and Pastor Jamal Bryant, him in particularly with Jamal Bryant, because he's so outspoken. And it's like no shade or no disrespect for him, but I mean, me personally, I wouldn't probably have him as the head spokesperson on this thing, just because it's just the way he talks. He talks in such a slick way that can be very off-putting. I mean, to me personally, I don't like the way when he made the announcement, I didn't like the way it came off at all.
Well,
and like a lot of people was taking issue with that, and a lot of people was like, getting upset. Like the ones who was wholeheartedly involved in the Target boycott, they have right to speak on things about this and that, as far as saying like they feel they didn't get everything that they wanted to get, and they're gonna continue on with that effort. The problem I have is for the people who didn't do squat. Like the ones that just want to like just be keyboard warriors, or that just want to be on the sideline, just like talking smack. I mean, you can say that the Target fasting did accomplish some things, and we need to see more things on paper and see specifics. Like as far as like donating to I'm gonna donate some money to some colleges. Okay, what exactly? What colleges are gonna be donating this and that and the other? They did have numbers. Or at least Jamal Bryant did list specific numbers. I think I seen $2 billion that was like committed. So we got to see how that's going to be broken up and all that kind of stuff. As far as the college stuff, there was supposed to be like another $2 to $5 billion or something like that, as far as going to the community. But you definitely want to see in what ways, a specific.
Well, what I'd like to ask you about, Mark, to close out this topic is, there is a divide amongst people, because there are people that are on Twitter and they're online on Blue Sky and all the other social media sites, and they're saying, is it now safe for us to go shop at Target? There's a divide here, and I want you to speak on that, because I've been seeing it. I don't know if you've been seeing it, but there's people saying, is it okay to go shop at Target or is it not? And to me, it kind of resembles things of the past, where when it was time for people to not ride the bus,
people didn't ride the bus. Why is this different than that era? Why can't we have a unified agenda and stick with it?
We can have a unified agenda, but the problem is too many of us, don't want to put the effort to doing this. Like, I mean, my whole thing is like, even with like the little minor beef, between the Target fasting and the Target boycott, I mean, these are civil-ass people. They should be able to get together in a room and sit down and talk out their issues and, talk on it some more. Like, when we got, like, these, as far as, like, these other knuckleheads, if you're somebody that's, like, trying to look for, like, a Pastor Jamal Bryan or, like, anybody to tell you whether or not you should shop at Target or not, I mean, that's shame on you. Like, you just said yourself that you made a moral choice not to, like, do business with anybody that was involved in helping or, like, accommodating Felon 47. You made that personal choice.
Right.
That took sacrifice.
Right.
And all that kind of stuff, because I get it. Like, man, when you're in these, like, communities and you don't have a whole lot of resources or you might not have a car or whatever, you got to shop at the closest, nearest, place that you can get your goods from. I mean, you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day. I'm not like fault nobody for that, but it's like, let's just say black people. I ain't going to say people of color, but black people altogether. Black Americans spend more than $1 trillion with a T dollars in the United States of America every single year. So with that said, if we really had man enough to all come together in the kumbaya moment, let's all stand. We got more money collectively than most nations around the world.
Right.
Like, we can make a big impact and a big splash on things, but again, we tend to like allow ourselves to be self-divided and all that. You have to sit back and look at what issues work for you and best for you and your family, and then try to encourage other people to like think with a clear mind. But you can't be a bunch of leaders. You can't just like get online and I'm just gonna go with Nina Turner gonna say, or Roland Martin, or Candace Owens, or like, if you just gonna go in any direction that the wind's gonna blow, or you gotta wait to be led on stuff, then like you already is self-defeated. And it's a wrap.
Yeah. I agree 100% with what you're saying, Mark, but it's one of these situations where it's going to be an ongoing topic, because right now it looks like people are dug into this thing and it don't look like they're going to get out of it anytime soon.
And let me just say this real quick too. Like, I mean, again, like once again, like the Target fasting was a success. I wouldn't hate on it too much, but I would keep pushing, because you can still keep pushing. Like, people don't still have to keep going to Target, keep pushing to get them to commit to more, because that's going to start a chain reaction with other retailers.
Sounds like a good topic to me, Mark. I mean, you laid it out exactly the way it should be, but we know that it's going to be an ongoing situation. We know there's going to be more news, and we will continue to monitor it as well as talk about it right here on the Grown Men Podcast. Another topic I want to talk about is, are the left progressives too progressive? So, Mark, this is a situation where I've been seeing a lot of stuff online, as well as looking at people talking on various shows about things. Of course, Stephen A. Smith and Bill Maher, they're big advocates of leftists becoming too leftish. What do you say about this? I mean, what do you have an opinion on this, and how do you feel about it?
I mean, when it comes to like Stephen A. Smith and Bill Maher, well, I can say with Bill Maher, like, I mean, that's like older he gets, the more conservative he is, and more he comes off like you know what I'm saying, an old man yelling, "Get off my yard" type of mentality. Because Bill Maher, as we had talked about offline, I mean, this was a guy that was a big Bernie Sanders supporter, right? Bernie Sanders is a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist and all of that. And now we have a Democratic socialist as a mayor in the state of in the city of New York City. Mayor Mondani and Bill Maher can't stand the guy, right?
Right.
So it's like, I mean, when it comes to somebody like him in particular and stuff, I think he's just a clout chaser. He's a guy that's trying to go where the wind is blowing and pretty much ever since people didn't like him calling himself a house N-word, I keep it clean. And he had caught some flack from the likes of Ice Cubes and so many other in the black community over that and stuff. He really kind of like, changed the ways. But the thing about Bill Maher is like, he's always been an elitist. I mean, what some would probably describe as a limousine liberal, one of those type of guys and stuff. I mean, that needs to feel important and needs, he comes off as talking like he talks like he thinks he's like the smartest guy in the room. I mean, when he's, anything but. Stephen A. Smith is a guy who broke his bones, and we talked about him many times on this program. I mean, he's a sports guy, right? He's a sports journalist, came out of Philadelphia, I think born in New York. He started his career in Philadelphia, doing the Iverson days and all that, and he's like pretty much a sports entertainer, if you will. Nothing like a professional wrestler to speak, but pretty much a guy who's very, very nifty with his words, uses a lot of big words, and has a lot of emotion and passion when he speaks, and he gets excited and all that kind of stuff. And then a lot of people get a kick out of watching him perform, because that's what it is. It's a performance. He performs on TV, on these sports shows. You can agree or disagree that he probably don't know, half of what he's talking about or whatever, but he definitely can draw attention. And so when these guys, come in Democrats and people on the left or people on the far left, because they both still consider themselves to be, somewhat Democrats. I think Stephen A. Smith considers himself more of a moderate, but what they really are is like Republican light at best. But it's, Stephen A. Smith, he jumped into the whole politician circle now because there's something to get out of that. There's a payday for him. So, bottom line, both of these guys are chasing that bag. There's no question about that.
So my thing is about it is, because I've been hearing this come up, and Stephen A. Smith has said this, and of course Bill Maher, he considers himself a comedian, which he's always been, and right. And we talked earlier when you were speaking on Dave Chappelle as well. And it seems that Bill Maher and both Stephen A. Smith share this thing about the pronoun deal. And, things being forced upon people who people generally don't necessarily feel that way. How do you feel about these topics? Like pronouns and people being transsexual and gay and all these other things.
Get all into it. Yeah. So with the whole pronoun thing, it's forced upon how exactly. Because that's the thing. Because I watch a lot of conservative media sometimes. Well, I ain't gonna say a lot, but some clips that catch my eye and to see the way they come in at it and how they use it to their benefits. Because at the end of the day, these conservatives that says all these things about this and that, they're not serious people. They don't believe in what they say at all. And particularly when it comes to gay, gayness and stuff like that, they don't believe in gay marriages and this is sinful, this and that. Yet you have so many conservatives that are in the closet.
Yes.
I don't have hardcore proof or hardcore evidence because I'm not an investigative reporter and all that. I'm not about to dig deep in somebody's personal life because, quite frankly, that's their business, right? Nobody should care, who's doing what with who. Hey, as long as they're not hurting nobody or hurting themselves, that's not a societal issue. But the problem I have with it is y'all, they want to go out there and talk all kind of crazy stuff about gayness and gay rights and all that, but yet they got a gay hairdresser, they got gay best friends, they have gay sex while they're married to women.
Right.
And all of these things, all this stuff. You look at Lindsey Graham, a 73-year-old bachelor. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, so with the pronoun things, like, who was like really forcing somebody to do anything? I mean, yeah, they did come up with a law to have, like, gender neutral washrooms and things like that. But really, if you break it down to it, like, let's just take transgenders or transsexuals. I mean, that's pretty much like less than 1% of the population of this country that has about like 350 to 370 million people in it. Depends on what, polls or whatever that you look at. That's a very, very minor, percentage. And there's chances are, like, you probably not going to even come across somebody that's transsexual. I mean, like, some of the people who's living in certain areas, like, I mean, we stay in a very, like, liberal kind of state like Illinois. So, yeah, we'll probably run into some out here. California, oh, definitely, for sure, no question. But, I mean, if you're talking about Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Ohio, I bet you're not going to see too many transgender population out there. You probably never, met one. And if you did meet one, you probably didn't even know it unless they made it too obvious. I mean, the whole point is, I don't think it's as an issue. Like, nobody's forcing anybody to do anything, really. I mean, they're like asking you to be, like, respectful. And I mean, if you come across somebody that looks like a woman and then they say, like, no, I'm a man, and it's like, okay, I apologize. And all right, have a good day, sir. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And I think, like, when people like they're like Stephen A. Smiths of the world, who claims to be leftist or whatever and all that kind of stuff, when they like highlight those issues over, like, what I'm saying, kids being killed every day and all of this other stuff that's, like, affecting the population as a whole, that does a disservice.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying, Mark, because, I try to give both, sides of a topic and see where people are coming from. My take is, I look at it like this. I always look at things like this as distraction tactics, and they're used to get you off of the real issues that we're having today in this country. It's not about that. Now, yes, as I said before, when it comes to pronouns and different things of that nature, I don't usually have those conversations because I've never had to. It's one of those things where I never had to. Now, I can easily adjust if need be, but I don't need that to be a reason for me to say, well, this party has gone too left. I mean, that's my issue that I have with it, because you take the Bill Maher's and you take the Stephen A. Smiths, and they always say about people going too left, and that's what forces the right to go too right. No, that's bull. I don't agree with that, because I don't care if you're hard right. You have no right to go out here and put people's lives in danger because you don't like the way they are, just as Felon 47 has done. The Iranian soccer team is here to play in the tournament. And he's saying, I got nothing against them, but, it would be wise for them not to come over here right now because of the way people are feeling. So, in other words, that means the United States of America is openly saying it. The leader of the free world is openly saying that they won't be able to protect Iranian people. This is the problem that I have with guys like Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith. You always want to point the finger about how left these people are going, but listen to this lunacy from this lunatic. But see, guys like Stephen A. Smith and Bill Maher, because Bill Maher said it out of his own mouth, he wants Iran to get taken out, but nobody wants Israel to get taken out. It's amazing to me.
He hates Muslims.
Yeah.
He's Bill Maher is he's a Zionist. That's what he is.
Yeah.
To your point, is like, this is a distraction. I mean, it's always been a distraction. It plays right into like the conservative, the MAGA, the right-winged playbook, because you up here like, you speaking on issues like that is a big, grave interference with, democratic success or whatever. I mean, me personally, I don't consider myself a member of any political party.
Exactly.
Right, conservative. Well, I'm for like humanity, for
Exactly.
like all people,
Exactly.
and affordability,
Exactly.
and that's the thing that you got to start looking at when it comes to politics. This is all about a negotiation strategy. At the end of the day, is like when the rule of negotiation is to like try to get try to get like the most that you can get.
Right.
Like, if you walk into a room and stuff like that, you negotiate with somebody, you're trying to get the best deal that you can get. So when you go into a polling booth, you're trying to vote for the person that's going to get you the best deal that you can get, because politicians aren't made to be your friends. Like, you don't supposed to fall, we're not supposed to fall in love with a politician.
Right.
We're not supposed to be soulmates or whatever. I mean, we don't even ask them to be like, like moral leaders or anything like that. But you're looking for a person to, get the best. Who's going to get the best towards your agenda? And then when you start bringing in like, oh, somebody's cross-dressing and we need to hate them, or like this, like this stuff don't have anything to do with the income, like your economy, your health care, your housing. Nothing that have to do with any of that. And that's the whole thing, is negotiating for the best deal that you can get. So when you sit there and look at a Vice President Harris and a felon 47 Trump, if you foolish enough, which so many people were, but the bigger fools was the ones that chose to stay home because they didn't fall in love with Kamala Harris. For whatever reason, maybe she was too dark, maybe she wasn't dark enough, maybe she was this, maybe she was that. Maybe she didn't go all in for like, the people in Gaza and all that kind of stuff. But if you chose, because you didn't fall in love with her, and now, you sit there and you get what you got right now, which is complete chaos, a whole lot more worse than it would have been. And that's why, like, I'm not mad at, like, former Vice President Harris for saying what she said. Like, hey, I told you so.
Yeah.
Because she did tell us.
Yeah, but that's
we got to learn that the hard way.
And that's one of the things that, once again, Stephen A. Smith had to open his mouth on and make that comment where he's saying he's getting tired, he's getting fed up with her saying what she said. No, because what? She told the truth, and you can't take it. So see, that's my thing with these guys. Once again, Bill.
Interrupt you. I apologize.
Go ahead.
But I want to say this real quick. When we talking about Stephen A. Smith and Bill Maher and stuff, when people choose to listen to them, you got to think about who exactly they are as people. These are both people that are multimillionaires.
Right.
They're not going to have to deal with the issues that you have to deal with.
Exactly.
If you're an Irish folk, if you're a regular person, if you're a broke person, if you're a not so broke person, whatever the case is, Stephen A. Smith's problems are not going to be your problems.
Exactly.
Bill Maher problems are not going to be your problems. Bill Maher is almost in his 70s, I think, or near his 70s.
Right.
He don't have any kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's another big part of it. He don't have any kids and stuff. So what did he care about, like sending your kids off to war or anything like that? Same thing with Lindsey Graham now.
Right.
Not to get too far off all over the map, but you got to like take into the account of who are you getting your information from? Like, what kind of lifestyle are they living?
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Mark. But it's one of them situations that's going to be ongoing because people are going to continue to say that people are sliding too far to the left. That's a defense mechanism for Trump and his base, Felon 47 and his base, to feed off of. And it's a feeding frenzy. And I think that people who are on the left need to stop falling for this okie doke, because that's what it is. It's nonsense. Because at the end of the day, like you said earlier, people need to be focusing on the things that matter, which is affordability, humanity, respect, and how to treat one another in this world, as opposed to who they are and what they are. But that's just my opinion.
Rights and resources, that's all it is. Like politicians, these political leaders, vote them in office for rights and resources. That's what we should be focused on all the time. I mean, if you don't like, gay people, fine. You don't have to like them. Nobody's forcing you to. But you got to give them their rights, though, at the end of the day. Because these are like, human beings, too.
Another thing I want to talk about, Mark, is something we just got through really talking about when we was talking about the other two people. But celebrities in general, they don't live in our world. So they don't live in the working class people's world, right? But they always expect us to adhere to the standards that they set. How do you feel about things like that?
When it comes to celebrities, and let's just say this too, many celebrities have at one point came from our world. There's been like a lot of people, because, celebrity is very vague. Because there's all kind of celebrities. There's like, people who became famous for like their performance in sports, acting, arts, people who gets on TV, that's vague, but like a lot of them have like, started off in like humble beginnings. And there's of course a lot of them who like was like born into it and this, that, and another. So when you make a statement like, yeah, they don't live in our world, because absolutely they do not. Once you get to a certain level of financial comfort,
Mm-hmm.
when you have that, like, FU money,
right.
When you pretty much get, people that's gonna like, be like, yes man to you and yes women to you, and you can, go out there and, pretty much do what you want. Like, yeah, you kind of like, at a whole, you're on a whole different level. So with all that said, when we, choose to listen to somebody, let's say let's use an example, say a Mr. Ice Cube, O'Shea Jackson Sr.
Right.
He's a guy that was from the street, one of the original members of NWA.
Yes.
From California, from the hood, all that kind of stuff, right? So like, yeah, taking a guy like him who comes out and start, speaking on things that may be true to his heart or whatever the case is. He's speaking on things from a standpoint of not necessarily like, being in the same area that he was when he was younger. And this guy's in a big house, comfortable living, comfortable lifestyle.
Right.
Let's just say that. Then he starts speaking on issues that's like pretty much affecting everybody, outside of his bubble. And you have to like take that with a grain of salt, because you got to look at the way he living. So no matter what happens and stuff, chances are he's probably going to be okay because he's financially set up. So that should always be like a flag right there, like a red flag. And that goes with like anybody and stuff. If anybody's already living a certain comfortable lifestyle, whether they're trying to be righteous or not, I always feel like it would behoove, some of these people, if they're that concerned about what's going on in the world of everybody else outside of their world, that they would like reach out to people outside of their world, like people who's expert on certain kind of issues that they have like, issue with, if you will. So it's like, with these celebrities, yeah, they're not living that lifestyle anymore. Like they've so far removed from that. Let's just take a guy like myself who was in the South Side of Chicago, and I used to like, trap on public transportations every single day. I couldn't imagine myself doing that now because I got a car.
Right. Right.
Make it as basic, as simple and plain as that. I don't even walk too many places like I used to back when I had to walk around and stuff like that, because I had no car.
Right.
Or probably have enough bus fare one to like save some money. Yeah, I was walking all over the place.
Yeah.
Walking like, from like 64th and 64th and Rockwell all the way to like Ford City and all that kind of stuff, walking around. It wasn't no thing. Now today, me living my comfortable or more comfortable life, having a car that I can drive, I'm not going to do that.
Mark, you hitting it right on the head. Everything you saying is absolutely true, because it's the same way I felt and others have felt. Once we get to a level, we no longer worry about that. And you're hitting it right on the head with these celebrities, because I be seeing it right and left, these postings online, and that's why I wanted to talk about it right here on the Grown Men Podcast, is because I see so many black celebrities, so many black Americans that are celebrities saying, you know what, they can't see why you wouldn't want to vote Republican because they don't want to take your tax money. Because there's been a lot of celebrities who lean that way, and then, you know, the tax laws are good for you. Yeah, but you're throwing out all the social stuff. You actually have, I think it's someone who's running for Congress, I believe it's down there in Georgia, where he says that black people should forget about social issues and worry about the financial side, as if that's going to be our only savior. And what do you feel about that when you hear people say things like that?
I mean, financial is social too, is it not? Like, I mean, if you talk about economics and social, like, so social issues are what? Like, you know, discrimination. We should, like, you know, stop worrying about discrimination.
Right.
So
things like that. Things like that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So when you
go for a job and get, like, discriminated against because they don't want to, like, hire you or they don't want to bump you up in a position, I mean, you know, and so you're not going to make any more money. That's going to, like, affect your finances. No doubt about it. I mean, everything is pretty much social issue. Like, we get caught into the whole, you know, framework of like identity and social issues only apply to like non-white people. I mean, when, like, you know, social issues and identity also applies to white people just as well. Because if you sit there and see like a white guy and stuff that's like, you know, look like he's well dressed, nice hair and all that kind of stuff. This is gonna be a good guy for this position or whatever, or to put on TV. Or, like, you know, he looks like, you know, he got, like, you know, upper management skills. I was listening to Renee Favors and stuff. I was listening to Joy and Reed, who used to have a show on MSNBC before she, you know, started talking too much about, you know, bad on Trump or whatever the case was. But she had her own show. I encourage people to, like, you know, check it out and get a chance to, because she be talking about some good stuff. But she is a person who went to you know, Harvard. You know, she's a Harvard graduate, and what she was saying was, like, you know, most of the people, or most of the white people, I should say, that went to Harvard because these were students that, you know, that was like legacy students. Meaning that their family had been there and all that kind of stuff, right? And she was saying that, like, they were some, like, the dumbest people. They never studied anything like that. Like, Harvard didn't put any too much pressure on them to, like, you know, study, let alone read too much. So they wasn't necessarily the best, you know, like the best and the brightest. But they was good enough to get a degree from Harvard, and then they can walk into somewhere and be like, hey, I'm a Harvard graduate, and chances are they're going to get that top job.
Right.
So those are all issues that's going to, like, affect people socially, financially, all of that. So, I mean, you really can't separate the two.
Well, when you talk about these celebrities that don't live in our world, I speak, you know, of both black and white celebrities, of course. I'm not excluding anybody in any race when it comes to that. My thing is like you just brought up a point, which was about civil rights, because civil is deprived from, you know, civilian. So the whole point is that should encompass everybody, and we should all be concerned about that. But for any black politicians, which they're labeled as celebrities too these days, politicians or celebrities from entertainment or whatever, all walks of life, when they speak about these issues and say, like, we should focus more on economical instead of social, to me, it just doesn't fit, because like you just spoke upon, sometimes the social issues can keep you from getting the economic side of it. You know what I mean? It's like you said, if someone turns you down for a job, don't make a big deal about it. Just go apply for the next job. Maybe that company will be better. I understand that kind of talk, right? But it kind of reminds me back in the civil rights era when, you know, a lot of people were saying, I hope them troublemakers don't come down here. I hope Dr. Martin Luther King and John Lewis and them don't come down here. We don't need no trouble. We don't want them white folks to start none, so don't stir up no trouble. That's the kind of mentality it seems like they want us to slide back to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, you know, it's pretty much like you said, many times. I mean, you know, pretty much like living on your knees at that point. And it's like, you know, and is that your idea of living?
Right.
It's like, well, you know, as long as I don't make too much noise and stuff, I mean, you know, I just stay out the way and I can have a nice little quiet life. And I mean, no. I mean, because sooner or later, they're going to come for you regardless. I mean, it's like that's the type of, like, you know, defeative mentality, keeping your head down. I mean, those are days that, like, those type of people want to go back to. I mean, like, you know, have at it. But, I mean, in the real world, like, things are moving, I mean, you're growing. I mean, it's basically like, it's all forms of, like, you know, weakness is the way I look at it. And, like, you know, when celebrities are, like, you know, encouraging other people to, like, you know, sit down and be quiet and not, like, you know, do things, once again, going back to it, they're not living in those streets, because if they had to, like, you know what I'm saying, live on that, they would be, like, you know, up in arms, and they'd be saying a whole lot of things. They'd be speaking out a whole lot. But just because they got, like, a little bit of something, it's like, too, like, I guess my problem is also, like, you know, with, like, a lot of people, like, I mean, because there have been people like a Ice Cube or Snoop or, like, even other people. I can't think of any, like, non-people of color right now off the top of my head. Forgive me for that. But there's been people that have been, like, you know, like, very vocal on certain kind of issues. And then once they get, like, that big check cut, they get all quiet and they, like, you know, be very compliant. I mean, because they got their big check.
Right.
And so they're not concerned about you getting your big check. Like, you know what I'm saying? When the big check gonna get to you.
Right.
But when they get let into a room, you know, as soon as they get in the room, they close the door behind them.
Right. Right.
You know, what about the rest of us getting in that room too to enjoy life as well? So, I mean, it becomes very, like, hypocritical. Let me go to Candace Owens real quick. I mean, because I brought this up before. Candace Owens was a woman that, like, you know what I'm saying, made her bones off of, like, suing her college, I believe, or
right.
No, actually, I think it was her, like, high school for, like, discrimination, because she was, like, one of the few black girls in her high school, and she was getting made fun of, teased, all that kind of stuff. She made phone calls to, like, you know, groups like the NAACP to help her out and all that kind of stuff. And she actually, like, won the settlement, got a lawsuit for, like, you know what I'm saying, tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
That helped boosted her career to become a very right-wing, anti-blackness, conservative individual that she is today.
But now she falling back on that. So this is the thing. She go back and forth. Now, when they put her out the door, now she want to get back in. You see what I'm saying? Is she continues with this, I'm not liberal. Now she like, I'm not conservative because I've been duped. All of them claim they've been duped by this Felon 47. You dug that hole. You dug that grave. Now you laying it. I'm tired of people accepting these people back.
What they trying to do, though, right?
What
they doing with Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, you know, the likes of even Nick Fuentes.
Yeah.
That guy, you know, likes those people that they're trying to capture the vacuum, because they know that, like, and I said this before, like, you know, with Felon 47, like, you know what I'm saying, moves on. I mean, when he gets called home to, like, damnation.
Right.
Because I don't think he's going to get called to grace.
Right.
But, like, you know, when he dies, you know, that whole MAGA movement is going to pretty much fall apart. So they need to, like, you know, suck up, you know, some of those people, because they're going to, like, you know, split that thing up, and they're trying to be on the side of, like, the next iteration of control and stuff like that. So you got, like, the tech vote, and the tech bros and JD Vances and people like that. You got all these different type of camps that's going to be jockeying for position to, like, you know what I'm saying, take leadership. That's why it's disappointing, once again, with these Democrats, established Democrats, for, like, you know, not being as vocal on, like, a lot of issues that they could be. Like, I don't know, one comes to mind, like the war.
Right.
You should be more vocal to be against that, to get more of your people on board, to be geared up to vote and not vote Republican. You don't want people to, like, you know, vote for Democrats just because they're not Trump.
Right.
Because that's not like a long-term solution.
Right.
Because once you get Democrats in power and they doing things and they're still not bringing down the cost of living, and you still can't find a house, and you still can't find a good job and good health care and all of the other things and stuff, they're going to be looking right back to the right.
Exactly.
That's what people like Candace Owens and them is trying to like capitalize on.
Right. I agree. Well, it's one of these situations where it's going to be ongoing because celebrities are going to continue to try to give advice to people who worlds that they don't live in. So it's going to be something we're going to continue to monitor here on the Grown Men Podcast, definitely. All right, well, folks, until next time, I am your host, BAN, and I will talk to you soon.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear.